All right, waiting for the feed to show up on YouTube. And gotta love YouTube, man. It takes forever.
You're live.
Yep, there we are. All right, so everybody, welcome to this week's Syndi-Comics Weekly. This week we have a special guest, Mr. Adam Fields. He's on the line with us. So thank you, Adam, first for coming out. BJ for coming in. So ways it's going to work, sort of like we did with Chad before. We're going to go through pretty much all of Adam's life, and he's going to tell us everything, even the secrets he hasn't told nobody else yet.
Right.
So that's how we're going to go. So with that being said, Adam, the floor is yours. So kind of what we would like to know is, hey, tell us about you, tell us about your life, and anything else you want to tell us. We're all here to be captivated by your audience.
Oh man! All right. So, first of all, thanks for having me. This is awesome. So it's really cool. First time being on YouTube live, so this is really cool. Normally I'm on the other end of Facebook Live doing drawing, but this is really cool. So I guess start from the very beginning. It was a cold winter's night in January 1987. That's when I was born. We'll fast forward a little bit. So, yeah, just a little bit though. And we're going to start when I was 3 years old. That was kind of the starting point of me getting into artwork. My father had actually took me over to his uncle's house, and where he sat me down and he said, "You know what? I want to do something for you." And he drew a steam engine, and it looked like it was coming right off the page. And at a 3-year-old, it blew my mind. I'm like, he just made this thing, and it looked so real that I had to do it. And so I basically just been drawing since I was 3. They gave me an old school wooden desk. I don't know if you can see it in the shot back here behind me. That little desk right there. That's where it all started. And so I got that, and I passed down to both my kids. That's it. I've been drawing, from 3, and it was all with that train. But all through school, I drew. I didn't do a lot of sports. I wrestled, and that was it. But there was not a time that I didn't have a pencil in my hand. And when I get in trouble, they took all the pencils and drawing stuff away. That killed me. I mean, you could take all my toys, my video games, whatever, but you took those pencils away from me. That destroyed me. So, so drawing like that. And then I always get asked, well, so when you got older, did you read comics? No, I didn't read comics. I just recently started reading comics. I've always loved the idea of telling a story with pictures. It was amazing. It's something captivating about, seeing it brought to life in illustration, the colors and the dynamic poses and everything. But where I'm from, there was no comic book shops. So growing up, it was just whatever I created, that was it. My parents, none of them did art. They didn't know anything about it. So they just knew that I'd sit there and draw. So there was really I wouldn't say support. They supported me by buying all the stuff for me. But I wouldn't say that they went out and bought comics and everything for me. So I created my own. So I didn't have a lot of history, growing up like you guys did in the comic world. I didn't know about, who's who or what's what and what universe and tie-ins and stuff. I had no clue. There was a lot of self-taught with this, but when I got older, I sort of straight away I graduated out of 2 different schools for art and commercial design and graphic design, and I sort of stopped doing art for a while. And this is where my story kind of gets interesting, and this is Nathan, what I told you about it being completely unique, and I think no one else has ever done it. I actually became a demolition derby driver. I wrecked cars for fun, every other Saturday at county fairs. I'd build them, I'd weld them shut, and go out there and destroy them. And that was fun. That's what I was doing. And I would sort of let artwork sort of drift away. A lot of people go, well, how did that translate into doing art careers? And I flat out said, I always had the best looking car out there, but I wasn't doing anything with artwork besides painting pretty cars and wrecking them. So when I'd say I did that for about 10 years. I wrecked cars for 10 years, and it finally got old. I had 2 kids, or I had 1 kid, and then my son was born the year that I decided to quit, and I decided to hang it all up, and I wanted to get back into drawing because that was where my passion was. I was in a job that was absolutely killing me at the time. I was a technical writer, writing manuals for equipment that, like fryers and stuff for, chicken fryers and stuff for like McDonald's and KFC and Chick-fil-A and stuff like that. And that wasn't feeding the creative need that I needed in my life. It was so interesting because they loved my design stuff, but they didn't want a designer on staff. So I talked to my wife numerous times, and we agreed that it was time for me to pursue my love again and what I went to school for. So that's when I quit, and I've been doing this full time for almost 2 years now on my own solo with creating comic books and doing the con scene, doing graphic design, and now illustrating for other companies and a lot of commission work. So yeah, still kind of baby steps into this realm, but definitely making it happen. So that's just a quick little synopsis of my life.
That's awesome, dude. I mean, I would love, man, to be wrecking cars, but I think after wrecking them for 10 years, I would get old after a while.
So my chiropractor loved me because it took numerous times to adjust my back. But I don't know anybody that went into that, because normally if you do that, like you got to be an automotive guy. I am not an automotive guy. I don't know how to change brakes. I know how to do oil, and that's it. If you need me to change like your starter and stuff, you don't want that. It won't start. I always had neighbors stop over. You take a look at my car. I'm like, no, I'm not going to be responsible for your safety on the road. I know how to build these cars so I don't die. But as for you, I'm not going to touch it, So, yeah, it was a fun time, definitely. But when I stopped, my biggest fear was I was going to break my hand, because it gets violent out there. Everyone, some of the tracks I ran, they weren't mud. It was a lot of packed clay. So you got a lot of traction and a lot of hard hits. I didn't want to break my hand and never be able to do this again, because I always loved drawing and I've always wanted to get back into it. But it definitely was a fear of mine. Every time I put a helmet on, it went out. So yeah, there was a lot of factors that went into getting out of it.
Well, it definitely had to be some nerve-wracking too, especially for your family. They always probably had to wonder, like, hey, is something's going to happen this time?
Yeah, she was a nervous wreck all the time. Hey, honey. She likes this. Yeah, they all said hi. So, yeah, she was a nervous wreck, but biggest supporter. And when I decided to do this, she goes, oh, my God, it's going to be a lot cleaner and not, a chance of fires. So, it was a win-win. Get to spend a little more time with the family. So, yeah.
Well, let's talk about your drawing, because I know you as an artist. From my buddy Josh Pence, of course. We talked a little bit about that. But who is your kind of inspiration as far as an artist? Like who did you grow up with that kind of said, hey, I mean, you said you had the train, which was an inspiration to keep drawing.
Yeah.
But based upon the scenes that you've seen with comics, or even outside of comics, what inspires you as an artist?
So, okay. So going back, like I didn't have a comic book upbringing, so I didn't really know of any artists per se. But what really inspired me was video game concept art. That was like the nearest thing I had to anything. So growing up, I played Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Metal Gear Solid, Army Men and Army Men Sergeant's Heroes. What other games? Oddworld, stuff with that kind. And Dino Crisis was in there, but I would play all those games And I would always get the strategy guides, and I'd even find myself buying the strategy guides that I didn't even necessarily have the game, but I liked the artwork. So I would use those and try to mimic those. Metal Gear Solid definitely was one who really got me into it because the style was so fluid and soft, and but yet dynamic. You could tell what it was. It was captivating. And then I found the concept art for Resident Evil, and it was over. That was all I was drawing, was zombies and monsters and stuff. And that's really what sparked my interest into doing sequential art and storytelling. Then when I got older, as of like right now, present time, I started really looking at comic book artists. So Jim Lee is always at the top. Greg Capullo is sort of my jump on point, because I started reading Court of Owls when I first got into it. That was a great jump on point for me, and I loved his artwork. Tony Moore, had the opportunity to meet him, and his artwork was amazing in the first set of Walking Dead, and then Deadpool prior to that. So, those are some of the top ones. Then when I started practicing a little more, I would take little bits of other artists that I enjoyed, like Todd Knock. I'm not necessarily, I like his style, not anywhere near but I like the way that he did his coloring with his markers. So anytime you see me using markers and stuff on Facebook Live and any of my commission work, it's using his techniques, because that's what I sort of trained myself to do. Because half these tools, they never taught us in college. They taught us how to use a computer and graphic design program. So illustration, I had to go really research to find what fit my style. So yeah, I'd say Greg Capullo was my starting point, and then one of my favorite inkers was Jonathan Galapian, who inked Court of Owls, and he also did Batman Metal. Yep. So it just depends on what I'm looking at. Overall artist, Jim Lee, I like his style, but if you're breaking it down into like sectors, Jonathan, I love his inks. Richard Friend is another amazing inker. Their techniques are so unique, because it's not your traditional hatching like you grew up in Silver Age and stuff like that. They use anything they can to make it look like they need it to. So to me, it opens up a whole new world of style. And I kind of look at that, like I have a few pieces here that I actually use my own palm to create a texture. And I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen that in anyone, where they needed that texture, and I put white out on it and dabbed it on it. Looked exactly like I wanted it to. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I know, like for me, I mean, I love comics just like BJ does, and like a lot of other people there, but there's a lot of other artwork out there I love, like H.R. Geiger. I love seeing his stuff, and then the heavy metal and Mad magazines, you bring those kind of artists into it. I mean, it's like those guys know how to draw, and they know how to paint, and that's the kind of thing is like they're painting a lot of things too, and that's completely different than just drawing and inking, and so I always love how to see those evolve.
When I see an amazing cover that has been painted, there was I want to say his name is Jason Alexander. He did a couple issues in Spawn here recently. His style is so trippy and so amazing and so lucid, but it fits, and it's just amazing to look at. I highly suggest everyone to sort of check him out too. But all these guys, they all sort of, I pick apart people's, like, if I like the way certain people draw like hands or eyes or something, I'll kind of mimic those until I find my own unique style. So I really enjoy like looking at different parts of characters. Frank Cho, I've actually got a few of his books because drawing women was like one of the hardest things for me to do. I could never get the proportions right, or something just looked off. His books helped me out significantly. So yeah, I got some weird looks. I brought those home.
I bet you did.
One of them's called How to Draw Beautiful Women. The one's called Apes and Babes. I mean, they're just, but they're helpful. You know, they're great resources to have on your shelf to really break down figure drawing. Pretty intense stuff.
I was gonna say, I mean, we've had a lot of like new artists lately kind of show up. Francisco Mantina, you know, Gabriel Del Otto, you know, those kind of Clayton Crane. You know, they have a different art style that none of us have really seen a lot, you know, in comics ever. You know, and henceforth why they're doing variant covers for a lot of books now. You know, they're not actually even doing full stories or full runs in books. They're only doing covers. You
Yeah.
know, and it's just amazing to see what they do. I mean, it reminds me kind of like Alex Ross. When Alex Ross first started, you know, he was only doing covers, and then he got big when he did Astro City, and then he started doing Earth X and those kind of books. You know, he got really huge because he did the whole book from top to bottom. I'm like, and I've talked to him a couple of times at cons. I'm like, how long do you actually sit there and do this stuff? He's like, about 20 hours a day. He said that's what he's like. I am at it all day long doing a lot of this stuff, and it's just amazing some of the stuff he does.
Oh, yeah.
But he's been doing it for 20 years too. I mean, there's a difference. He knows how to do stuff. Like I've been reading ASM, you know, and he's been doing all the covers for it for like the last almost 2 years on the book, and it's like, I drew that stuff, you know, months and months ago. You know, it's like I just got all of it done and get it prepped and go. But it still took me forever.
Oh yeah, yeah. You almost have to. It's almost like retail. If you, that's just sort of the way that I think about it. Is you're sort of thinking like, okay, this book's going to be coming out in October. I need to get the cover done by no later than, you know, May or June or even July, so they can, you know, get edits done and all this, especially if you're doing the full interior of the book. You got to have that stuff prepped. And I'm finding that out now with my series. I'm trying to play catch up because I didn't expect it to take off like it has. And now I'm sort of behind, and that's a position I don't want to be in. I want to be able to deliver on time as, you know, as frequently as possible. And yeah, I admire people who are able to do, they have all their ducks in a row, and they say, you know what, this cover is done, and the book's not even ready yet. You know, it's amazing, but that shows true professionalism and a knowledge of the industry that they're in.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to say too, that's a good segue. So kind of wanted to talk about your book. So your book is Prowl. That a lot of people might not know who's on this stream, but it is self-produced by you.
Yeah.
Now, you do everything, right, for the book? You write, you cut, you print, I mean, you pencil, and you ink, and you color.
Cradle to grave. It is all me. Now, I do have a couple hands here and there, and I'll explain what those are in a little bit. But yeah, as of Prowl, the concept is all mine. The idea actually came to me when I was in the 8th grade. So for everyone that doesn't know, Prowl's actually a werewolf comic book, but it's a completely different take on the werewolf genre. So I'll show some of the covers here in a little bit. But the idea was when I was in 8th grade, that's when like Underworld came out, and then Van Helsing. And I loved those movies simply because the villains, the werewolves themselves were vicious. You know, they weren't like this Twilight stuff that came out now. So if there's any Twilight fans on here,
sorry.
Hell
no.
Doesn't sparkle. You know, he's vicious and pretty savage. And that's what they depicted in those movies. So the idea was, what if he was a good guy? And then I went a little further, like, what if he was able to change whenever he wanted, not just when there's a full moon, because that's not convenient at all. If you're a crime fighter and trying to make a change, like, you know, I can't save you because, well, there's a cloud over the moon, or it's not even it's a half moon right now. You know, to me that was inconvenient. So I wanted to rewrite just a little bit of the Lycan story, still nodding to the classics, obviously, but something completely different. That, you know, we always have shapeshifters in different comics, but this was strictly a werewolf, and there's a whole reason why he turned into a werewolf, and we'll get into that later on in the series. Right now, we're just sort of diving into who he is and what he does, and then we'll dive into the history of why he is. So, but yeah, the whole story is produced by me. I write it, I pencil it, I ink it. I have someone who helps me do the flatting. So for anyone who doesn't know what flatting is, basically what they do is I send them the line art cleaned up. So all they have to do is just put random colors onto the figures and the pages and panels. And then I get those back and I render them out to the colors that I want them to be. So I may get it back and it will look really psychedelic with some pinks and greens and purples and yellows. And when he's a brown werewolf, you know, it helps in Photoshop to segment each character. So I have someone that sort of helps with that in the first 3 issues. And then I had a guy actually color the first 2 covers for me. But that was when I first got started and didn't have time to do it myself. So, but issue 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, I've colored the covers myself. So, yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and I'll show them right now. So, you know, this is,
cool.
Yeah. And I don't know if you guys saw the shirt then. Got an amazing shirt company that prints all my Prowl shirts. So Abrupt Design, they're amazing. But so yeah, so there's issue 1. And one thing I like to do is on the back, it sort of nods to what the next cover is, so you can kind of follow suit. But so issue 2, you know, one of the coolest things about it is he's in a convenience store in this one. So it's a werewolf in a non-locale. You know, it's a non-traditional locale that, you know, you would never see a werewolf in a convenience store. So, you know, it's not just in woods and stuff like that. But as I say that, issue 3, he's in the woods. So, you know, that's where it nods, but it doesn't turn out to be woods if you dive into the story. So, and then issue 4, which is probably my favorite cover, is him on a big pile of rocks that look conspicuously like skulls. So, but yeah, and then here's a sneak peek of what issue 5 cover is going to look like. So yeah, it's pretty neat. It's been out for a year, just over a year. January 25th was its 1 year, and in 1 year I've released 4 books. So the premise of it, the idea behind it is he's a vigilante werewolf. His name's Alex, and he lives in a small town where it's basically favoritism is running rampant. Drugs are running rampant, and he's seen a steady decline in basically how people used to be prideful of their area, and now it's just turning into slums, and he hates it. And he finds this stone and he puts it on, and it turns him into this werewolf. And then he takes off, he's back to human. So day or night, it doesn't matter. And so he can quickly put it on, take care of business if something's going wrong. So if someone's breaking into a car, puts it on, scares them, takes it off, and there's no evidence. You know, it's basically like the urban legend of the town. But everyone sort of fears it because, you know, they believe that this is part of a hallucination of this drug that's on the street and whatever. But the people who have seen it believe it. So, yeah. And right now we're just diving into the history, like where we jump off into issue 1. He's been doing it for about a year. So he's sort of familiar with, you know, he can put it on, take care of business, take it off, you know, no repercussions. But the more we get into the story, he finds out that the longer he stays as the werewolf, he loses control of himself, and it gets pretty bloody pretty quick. So he's going to have to start monitoring his time, and you know, he sort of gets scared. And yeah, I'm pretty excited where we're going with issue 5. It's half completed at the time, so it'll be out hopefully July is my target month. I can't set a week or anything because of the printer. I don't know when they'll be able to, you know, squeeze it in once I get it to them, but I'm aiming for July, definitely. Would love to have it out and everything like that. One thing that makes these unique, and I don't know, let me see if I'll be able to do it since I'm actually on my computer. One of the coolest things about Prowl is I actually have a Prowl app. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right. So I'm gonna turn it down. It's got music and everything. So I worked with a company out of Spain that developed this app. So you can like see some news. You can see a couple pages of the comic books. You can click this and see some characters and everything. But everyone loves this little AR scanner. And let me hold up a book here. So right now you're looking at just the living room. But if I hold it up, can you see that werewolf on there?
Yeah.
He howls, flashes. It's a free downloadable.
Sick.
So there's a couple shirts that we're working on that you can actually have that augmented reality as well. So just trying to give a little more bang for people's buck when they get the book. It's not just something cool that you can read, but you're actually going to be able to interact with him. So I'm actually working on a banner where I have it set off to the side at Comic-Cons, and you can get your picture with Prowl, just with the app, snap a selfie with him. It's just something more interactive for people. So yeah, that was a fun little adventure that we went on. So I think the next step is doing a virtual reality with VR goggles. So almost like a VR experience type video that we're going to be launching hopefully maybe mid to late next year. So we already have the model. We just need the scene and the script. So I'll work with them to develop that.
Sweet. Yeah, that's kind of the cool thing is like you're actually doing interactive stuff with your people that read the book. They don't do that a lot in comics anymore. It's you get the book, you read the book, and you put the book in the booking bag, and then you put it away.
Yeah.
Unless it's like your favorite series that you keep reading over and over and over again, it's not really interactive. I mean, it's a story that you love, but it's not. It's pretty much you're read and done, kind of thing. That's really cool that you did that.
It's just something unique that I've not seen, and pitch the idea to say like DC. How cool would it be to have a Batman book there when you scan it? You see the bat symbol, the bat light shining, or see him gliding across the page. It would just be, and it's not a lot to key a cover to do this. So I am the company that I work for. They actually have offered, so if anyone ever wants augmented covers and for their own stories, I'll happily send them their way because they would love to be able to do this with more books. I think that would be pretty cool to see more interactive books. Now, another book that I was hired to illustrate was this one called Zombie Office. I did the cover and interior for it. What's cool is it's got an augmented shirt too, or I'm sorry, augmented cover, but it's also got augmented interior pages. So it has this little symbol on it right here on the page. It'll either bring up a like behind the scenes video of like me coloring the page or an item. So this is actually going to be an interactive live action movie video game that you're watching this movie and it will pause and it'll say, you see a zombie about to attack somebody and you get to choose whether they live or die and like let them go or save them. And whatever you choose is the outcome of that movie. So it does that periodically. But you can actually scan items out of the comic book, put them in your inventory, and it will unlock like new scenes and stuff. So ultimately, if you're taking a path that ultimately you're going to die, if you have this item, chances are you might be able to survive and unlock like a new scene that you haven't seen before. So that was actually a really fun adventure, and we're working on issue 2 right now as well of this. So, but it goes back to we have these awesome books launched. I wanted to have issue 2 done before we even launched issue 1, but they got pretty antsy and went ahead and released it. And I'm like, that's cool, but now we have people asking, and that's what I want to try to avoid. Anyone on here who is wanting to get into this, take this little bit of advice, get ahead before you launch your first one, because that will save you so much headache, because life happens and you might not be able to stay on track. But if you give yourself a cushion, you're going to be just fine. So yeah, that's what I've learned so far in this little world, because right now my project list is getting very large, and I push off my own stuff to meet customer needs. So yeah, that's the only big advice that I can give right now to anyone who's wanting to get into this.
Well, and that's kind of the cool part about it, though, is that this is about as independent as you're going to get with a comic book. You know, it's like literally. I mean, you can't even get this in an LCS, can you?
I've got it in 2 stores here in Ohio, just 2, and they're local shops to me, just because I can run over to their shop if they run out, drop off a couple books, and be done with it. Um, right now, it's at Jim and Dan Comic and Collectibles over in West Alexandria, Ohio, and then Bell Book and Comics over in Kettering, and they they both happily carry it. They're actually both sponsors of Prowl, and I've actually done book signings at both their locations. Jim and Dan's Comic, they actually were the launch place, my launch location, the pilot location where I released it. So they've actually helped me so much with my journey, because you hear everyone say, "Oh, I want to do comics for a living," or "I want to draw for a career." That's got to be so much fun, and a lot of people say that, but they don't really put feet behind it. And so when I walked in and I told them, "Yeah, I want to do comics for a living," they said, "Yeah, you can do it." But then they started seeing me make effort and push myself and drawing every day, start teaching art classes, and everything behind the scenes that a lot of people don't really do. I was laying the groundwork, and they really started helping. They invited me to set up at their shows. They do 4 shows a year, and I set up at their very last one of the year. And from that show, I did 1 show that year. The next year, I ended up doing 25. One, because I got invited, and more invites and more invites, and now I top out about 35 a year, and that's my max. So this little groundwork like that being laid, it just sort of helped out. So if you say you're going to do something, really dive in. Don't half anything. Go wholehearted.
Yeah, right. Well, definitely. I mean, because especially in this field, I mean, that's one of the big things. Like, I'm a grader for CGC, CBCS, and PGX.
Nice.
We kind of talked earlier about me. I used to be a sketch guy, for a long time. But since I can't do that anymore, I jumped into something that I really love to do. That's grading comics. I love seeing books, new books, old books, whatnot. But it's able to help somebody else out with their books. That's one of my passions to do.
That's all.
So it's cool that you get to do what you actually love to do, and it helps you out. That's freaking awesome.
Oh, yeah.
We have a question for you from Iron Patriot. Will you be at Wizard World Chicago this year?
This year, no. I'm actually going to be in Wizard World Columbus in June, but I won't be at their Chicago show. Now, 2019, we're already starting to look at different events, and I'm already starting to book up a few. And Wizard World Chicago was actually on my watch list to check out. So 2019, I might be there. They can find actually all my show schedule at midnight27studios.com. Go under the events and news tab, I believe. I've got it pulled up. Yeah, news and events tab. And then I have a 2018 show schedule listed. So upcoming ones right now are June 3rd, Jim and Dan Comic and Toy Show over in Dayton, Ohio. Then I'll be up in Akron, Canton at the Akron Canton Comic Con on June 24th. And then I need to add Wizard World here it's one that I just recently added that one to my roster for the year. I'll be there on, when is Wizard World? June 10th. I had to talk to my wife. she all memorized. So yeah, June 10th, I'll be at Wizard World Columbus. July 7th and 8th, Youngstown Comic Con up in Youngstown, Ohio. That one used to be called the All Americon. So same company that runs it, just a different name. And then Buckeye Comic Con Columbus. I'll be doing a local show at our local library and on the 21st. And then the Ohio Toy and Comics Show in Fairborn, Ohio on July 22nd. That Ohio Toy and Comics Show. So you guys are toy collectors. You guys know a lot of toy collectors, right? This will actually be one that, if you're in the Ohio area, especially in the Fairborn area, Dayton area, Columbus area, stuff like that, don't miss the Ohio Toy and Comics Show, especially this year, because they're actually having Daniel Pesina from Mortal Kombat. He was the motion capture artist for Mortal Kombat 1 and 2. He did Johnny Cage and all the ninjas. So if you see like an old arcade and you see Johnny Cage kicking, that's Daniel Pesina. He's actually be there, and I had the opportunity to do the poster for that show. I think I got the drawing here, but yeah. So when they heard, I was a big Mortal Kombat fan growing up. That was one of my another one that I kind of got into. So yeah. So there's that. Try to get first 250 people through the door will get this for free, and then everyone else has to pay. But he'll be signing it. I'll be signing it. It's pretty sweet. If they go to my Facebook page, they can actually see the full color version, or even go to the Ohio Toy and Comic Show Facebook page. They posted it. It's really cool. So yeah, all of you toy collectors out there, this is a toy show. There's a couple comic books, but this one is geared towards toys and collectibles. So I figured your audience would probably really like that one. So that was July 22nd. So, but yeah, those are the next 2 months of shows that I have coming up.
You definitely busy.
There's a 2-print fee to be on the live stream today, just to let you know that. So I'll give you my address so you can send me one of those prints, and then Nate will give you his address. Okay.
Got it. You got it. Yeah, I'm sure I should get a couple. Yeah, designing.
I hope so.
That was a fun one too. Like that's what's exciting about this type of career. When I first started off on my own, I honestly had thought that graphic design, like branding, logo, advertising, all that would be probably like 80% of what I do. It is actually the complete opposite. I would say 90% is illustration, where now I'm going to have to start limiting what I do graphic design wise. I'll never stop designing shirts or logos, but like wedding invitations, I'm going to cut those out. Like it's not, to me, it takes up more time than it's worth. Yeah, illustrations have been blowing up. So like current project stuff that I have going on. I actually was a Marvel Premiere sketch card artist for Upper Deck.
Oh yeah,
that was a really fun one. Right now I have these that I still need to distribute. These were my so this one right here.
Oh,
that's sweet.
So these are all spoken for, unfortunately, but then Carnage. My son, he's 5. He's a big Carnage fan. That's not concerning, is it?
No.
And then Venom here. That's awesome. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
And this one was actually an auction that I did, Daredevil. So these and like look at the thickness of these cards. Like they're ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
They're like 2 of them together quarter inch. So but I actually got picked up for 2 more Marvel projects like this. Sketch cards, and one of them I can't say what it is, but the other one is Marvel Masterpiece. I just got picked up for that one on Friday, so I just signed my contract, or not Friday, Monday. So I just signed my contract and sent it in today. So I should be getting those hopefully in the next couple weeks. And I have to do 60 cards. The first round I did 40, and 40 they were kind of unique. So there was 2 cards like this that were butted up and hinged. So I had to illustrate on both sides and then 1 on the back. So I posted all those on my The Art of Adam Fields page on Facebook. They can check that out. All 40 of them were approved. So that was probably one of the big highlights in my career so far was to receive something that's a licensed Marvel product. the toe in the door, if you say. Not a full.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I was going to say, you just said Marvel Masterpiece. They haven't did those in almost 20 years in cards. Because I remember getting those in the 90s, you know, when Lee and Lim and Bernie Wrightson was still doing them, you know, back then.
Yeah. So you're familiar with them. Now, did they do original artwork on them back then?
It was, some of it was original, some of it was taken from comics. Like they had Bernie, you know, with his Man Thing done for some of his, and then Lee, they of course just stole from X-Men. But Ron Lim did original artwork on his, so it was cool to get the sketch cards when they would do that. It was like 1 out of 1,000 packs, you know, to get a sketch card back then.
Now it's almost every pack I think you're getting them. So the Marvel premiere was actually really fascinating. So I kind of been keeping an eye on eBay because I've seen a couple of my cards that people have bought the tins and open them, and now they're selling the cards. Man, it's weird seeing your stuff selling by somebody else. I'm like, I remember doing that. Like that was a fun one. Or you know, this one, like I didn't want to let that one go because that was my favorite. I did a Thanos one. And that one was the hardest. That was the very first one I did, and that one was hard to send back. I'm like, that one I would love to get back just because it was just so beautiful. But now, now I have two more projects coming in with him. I'm like, definitely gonna do another Thanos. He's just really fun to draw. Him and Venom are probably my two favorite characters to draw of Marvel. And Carnage is pretty cool.
That Juggernaut cover you did was good.
Oh, Juggernaut's awesome.
That was a nice one.
Thank you. Yeah. Now that is how you can turn crap into something beautiful. Early on Marvel sketch, like the sketch covers, they didn't use the best paper stock. So when I started, like it felt really good, but then I started coloring it, and it basically smeared all the ink. So it looked beautiful black and white, but the minute I put color to it, that alcohol acted with the ink and it smeared it. So I literally had to redo it and like tiptoe around the black spots. I think if I would have left it black and white, I would have loved it more, but he was happy with it. So, that's all that matters. But if anyone out there, test the paper first before even offering. Color pencils will always work on things, but I like using Copic marker, and they will mess with anything that's on it, and it won't blend properly. Now, the newer, like X-Men Red, that cover where I did Cyclops for him, completely, like that was the perfect paper. So I feel like they finally got it right, but when they first offered them, yeah, it didn't work. Now, Prowl issue 4, I have a blank variant available for commissions at Comic-Cons and stuff. I was very picky about the paper stock that I used. And I've actually had a few other artists draw on it, and they said, this is premium stuff. I said, it better be, because I was particular about because I'm going to be drawing on them. I don't want crap, So I've had some horror stories. I've had to throw a few sketch covers away, early on. I'm like, I didn't know that they even use this kind of stuff. It was almost like it's the gloss side, and it just didn't absorb and work the way it was supposed to. Kind of got frustrating, but I've learned. I've actually, in my box I have at Comic-Cons, I have an entire short box full of blanks, and that people can sort of sift through and say, hey, I'd like so-and-so on this cover. I'll do it right there for them. And I actually have stickers on the ones where I flag and say, I can't put color on this one because it won't work. It will not look right. So, yeah, I sort of go that extra mile for anyone who wants something.
Well, definitely. Do you have that sketch cover you did for mine nearby?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good example of it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, yours, I started, I did a couple test spots that I knew was going to be black. Be really careful here. So there's the front of it. We're going to open up to its full glory here. Yeah, Sabretooth versus Wolverine. Yeah, I love the way it turned out, black and white. Honestly, it yeah, especially like his little arm hair and stuff. Like, so for example, for anyone who's wondering like what I mean by it messes with the ink. So if I was to put like a skin tone of the Copic marker, all these little lines would actually blend together, and it would make it look muddy and like a big smear. You wouldn't get that detail. So like over here, I put a couple marker lines to see how it would act on the paper, and it wasn't working right. And even since there was nothing there, even with the marker, it was leaving a black smudge, and my nibs were clean. And I'm like, I know this isn't anything with my tools. So I did a test run. And I talked to Nathan and said, hey man, looking out for you on this one. So, but I love the way it turned out. Hopefully you guys like it. Yeah. The next one I got is Batman versus Deadpool for you. I had, like I said, I had that a really tragic commission come in today, and I jumped all over that one. Man, that's one thing that I have a tough time with is requests where it tugs at your heartstrings. So a family member of mine called because one of his coworkers found out that their 11-year-old, they found a tumor on the back of his head, right at the base of the skull and where the neck, and it might be cancerous. So he asked me if I could do a drawing of the little boy as Doctor Strange, and he called me today. Now, this is a man who doesn't ask for anything. So when he asked, I said, yeah, I know who, I know how he was, family member. I know exactly what type of person he is. So for him to ask for anything, it was huge. So I stopped what I was doing, knocked it out for him. Might have the drawing on here. But, yeah, so I don't know if it's showing up very well, but probably a little bit of a glare. So, and I quickly knocked that out. So, yeah, it's that kind of stuff. I've been commissioned to do deceased grandparents, kids and dogs and memory pieces. So for those, I sympathize with people a lot. So when I get those type of requests, it like really hits home, and I'm like, man, but those pieces mean the most to me because I know that the person receiving them cherishes them more than anything, and they'll never let them go. Like, that's not a piece I'm going to see on eBay. You know what I mean? They're going to hold on to that forever. So, those are the rewarding types, but you sort of have to be prepared to hear sad stories. And that's just something you just don't wake up thinking that you're going to hear. So you always got to be at the ready.
Well, and they appreciate it more than anybody else ever will. I mean, that's the catch too. Is that is like you're taking time out of your schedule. I mean, you've got a lot. I mean, I know I've been on some of your live streams. You do a lot of work. Don't get me wrong, but to me, that means more. I mean, that means more than any commission, more than anything else. Just like for me, I mean, like if somebody asked me to go help out, do something like I did a toy hunt with my kids for a autism thing a couple of weeks ago. I love doing that kind of stuff any day over just getting something for myself. I love to do that kind of stuff.
I jumped on a live stream because my sister-in-law, she was doing something with the pregnancy help center up where she's from, because she had to use their resources when she got pregnant with my nephew, and there was some issues with the baby, so she really had to use them. So to sort of help them out, she was raising money for a walk. So I jumped on a live stream, said, hey, whoever buys this for this much, I drew a Wonder Woman. I don't know if you were on there for that one, but I drew a Wonder Woman, and someone immediately bought it before it was even done. And I told them, I said, well, you're going to get a free, full color print of it, and you get the original piece. So, and they actually donated, they bought the piece for what it was worth and then threw in extra just because of the cost. So, doing charity work like that, it's not always about, making the money for yourself. Obviously, this is my job. This is what I do for a living. I have a home, I have kids and a wife and a family to support. But ultimately, you're looking out for a community as well. As a business owner, I want to give back as much as I can, even, not just in my area, but other areas that I know have affected, family members of mine. So, always looking out for one another. That's one of my biggest things is anywhere I'm able to lend a hand or offer any of my services. I'm always up for that. Granted, if my schedule allows me, I happen to have availability, and it was just something I felt on my heart that I needed to do. So I jumped on and did it. So it was a nice little warm up too. I warm up just like anybody who does sports. I sit there and I do a couple quick sketches and just get loose and limber. And if I'm doing a full color, like all I'm doing is coloring for the day, I'll sit there and do a couple little sketch cards, and that's it. If I'm drawing panels and sequential art, I'll draw, poses all, for about 30 minutes or so, just to make sure I can draw still. That's the biggest thing. But yeah, it's a mental thing too. So that was my warm up for the day, was sort of seeing and drawing something that I hadn't drawn in a while, was Wonder Woman. So yeah.
That's awesome, man. Because they're gonna love that for the rest of their lives. That's gonna be heartfelt and meant something to them. There's a lot of them like that. Like there's a lot of artists, that are out there. Like for example, Neil Adams was one of my favorite artists. And I got to meet him at a Comic-Con, and this is before, I'm gonna say about 10 years ago. Before the whole, hey, let's raise prices on signatures, kind of era. Which kind of frustrates me today, but we actually had to sit down and have a conversation and talk about things, not just comics, but like real life stuff, and he was a really cool, down to earth guy. Now he's not the same person, and that's kind of sad, and
I've heard.
And the Kyle, one of our moderators on the page, he actually went to go get some stuff signed and kind of got the runaround from it. And it's kind of sad to see that turn around the way it has now in the comic industry.
Yeah.
But what got me was like 10 years ago when I sat down and talked to him, we got to actually talk and do stuff. And he actually did me a sketch for free, which was awesome.
Now you can't get their autograph for free.
No, not at all.
I could see it as, because I've had to sit and sign batches and batches of books. It can get tiresome, especially if you're trying to talk to people and then you have a commission that you have to do and you need to pause to sign. It's semi-frustrating, but I can never see charging people $50 for a quick scribble. I don't care. I think that's one where I'm going to differ than a lot of people. I can see them limiting. I've seen a lot of people say, the first 5 or the first 10 are free, but it's $1 after that. I can see that just because, one, if you're bringing 50 books for a guy to sign, you're holding up everyone else behind you, and that's not fair to the people who also paid the same amount to get into the show just to see this person. There could be a kid who this might be his only day there behind you, and if you're holding up the line with 50 plus books, all because they're doing them for free, that's to me that's greedy. So pick like your top 5, because you can knock out 5 really quick and be done with it. But I can't see charging $100 for just a quick scribble and a handshake and maybe a selfie.
Yeah.
It's just weird to me, But there's people like that. That's they're not people persons. Like they, to them, it's a chore. To me, it's a pleasure to meet people, and I think that's where it's different than people who've been in it for a long time, or versus me who's still working to get into it. And but I've always had this passion for and selflessness for other people. So that's why I'm thinking like, man, if I bring 100 books for this dude to sign, that's his day, and I can't do that. I'm gonna pick a couple and get on with my day because I'm not the only one here. So
well, and that was kind of my revelation today in today's industry was different. I was so irritated when I heard that. I mean, BJ and Kyle was telling me about it. You know that Kyle had went through all that stuff at C2E2 with Neil, and I'm like, dude, you're an artist. We come here to come see you. So and I get it. You have to make a living. This is a business. And I understand the business perspective too. Don't get me wrong. But when you charge $300 for a signature on a book that you're not even doing a sketch on, I have an issue with that.
Yeah, to me, that's just greed, and I've never been one to be greedy, and I can never see myself being that way. It's just, to me, this is an industry, and a lot of people have a hard time thinking of it as a job because it is a fun career. Like, I get to sit down and do what other people do as a hobby, but I'm getting paid for it. That's the difference. And a lot of people have a hard time separating what I do as a job versus a hobby. So the way I explain it to them is, you would never ever go to a mechanic and say, hey, I need, my car's acting up. Could you fix this? But you enjoy doing it. So that's your payment. It's a service. It's something that no one else can do, and you need it. Me and my comic book shop, Jim and Dan's, we talked a lot. Comics are commercial art. It's not just a cool story, but you're buying a brand. Batman is a brand. I mean, you can go to Walmart or Hobby Lobby or Target, and you see Batman everything. That's a brand. So when you're buying the book, you're buying a cool story, but you're also buying into their brand. So essentially what we're doing is commercial art. So we should be paid, and thought of as commercial artists, not just sequential artists or comic book artists or illustrators. It should be, treated as, as if I was doing a logo or anything like that. So I think that's what kind of appealed to me most about doing this was I've always liked marketing and advertising. But I've also liked creating fantasy, stuff that just isn't in this real world. I mean, zombies. Who wouldn't love to draw zombies day in and day out? That's just fun. But ultimately, what I'm trying to sell is a product with my artwork and a captivating story, something to help people escape reality. So yeah, that's where a lot of people sort of have this stigma or thought process of, well, why should I pay for a doodle, And then you get people like that who overpay or overprice, and yeah, you have a big name. I get that. You're making checks off of stuff you've done back in the 70s still. I don't know. It's one of those weird spots. I've never been in that position, so I don't know how I would react, but as of right now, I can say I can't ever see me being that greedy where I'm going to charge someone for a quick scribble. I sign print. I sign, my comic books. If they want me to, there's people that will walk around cons, like little kids with their little sketchbook, and they'll say, hey, can you sign this? Would they charge those little kids for an autograph? To me, it's cute. Yeah. So, kids are just there to have fun experience. They don't know who you are. So you're there ultimately for the person on the other end of the table. So, yeah. So anyone who ever sees me at a show, stop by, say hi, talk to me. I am pretty down to earth. I love chatting. Just don't be weird. I mean, it's a fun time. I enjoy it. I think that's what a lot of people who have been in the industry a lot, for a while, they've probably lost that spark, that interest, and to them, it's now a chore. It's almost like you've been in the same job for years and years. Like you're an accountant, you really like numbers, you're 20 years into it now, and it's just a headache. And that's the only way I can relate it to. And yeah, it's sad, but people get burned out. I'm hoping that doesn't happen to me anytime soon. I've got a lot of stuff I want to do.
Well, And I've seen a lot of artists kind of do that now. They're taking a step back, or even writers on the same perspective. A lot of them are taking a step backwards and saying, all right, we're done. We'll do what we want to do when we want to do it. Rick Remender's a good example of that. He's jumped out of the limelight and did Seven to Eternity, you know. And then you had Jim Lee, for example. He was just doing covers. He just did a new story called The Immortal Men, which is a fallout from Metals. That's the first actual book he's done, like cover to cover, in years. You know, so it's nice to see him do that kind of stuff again. Rob Liefeld, he just came back doing Youngblood.
It's crazy seeing these guys come back out of the woodwork, you know. Rob Liefeld, what's he working on now? I just saw this pouch thing.
He's going to be working on Youngblood, right?
Okay.
A few issues he's going to be on. Then Chad's got somebody else coming on after that, I think. But besides that, that's all. He'll do variant issue covers of Youngblood.
Yeah, and I've noticed a lot of like bigger names are just doing variant covers. You know, they're not doing cover to cover art. And part of me, like, I enjoy doing the sequential art part. It's a lot more work than what a lot of people may realize to tell a story visually in a short amount of time. I enjoy doing cover art. I actually do some cover art for an author. Her name's E.E. Martin. She just published a new book called Squid, The Squid Files. It's a middle school age novel. And it's like paranormal meets like kid investigators. It's kind of neat. But I did the cover for her. You know, to me, I'm able to put forth 110% into one piece, and it looked absolutely beautiful and stunning. But if I put that much energy into each page, my books would never be done, because that's doing it all by yourself. That's where the team aspect comes in, and I just refuse to bring someone on the team that I can't pay. That's the whole reason why it's just me right now. I'm trying to save up to build a team, and I refuse to offer people only back end pay. I don't know. I have a bad taste in my mouth. I like to be paid up front for or along the way for projects like this, and I would expect to treat people that exact same way. I don't, because say the book doesn't sell well, I'm going to be out, and I don't want them to be out. So, so I just do the work right now. But I like doing covers because you put all this energy into one piece, and it's on the cover, and you're done. It's what really sells the book. You know, my favorite cover so far is the Zombie Office cover. Like that, I did that at a craft show. It was a really slow craft show at some school, and so I was, you know what, I got to do this cover. I'm just going to sit here and draw it. And I had a crowd. They were just watching, and it was really cool. I was and interact with these kids, and they got to see this cover come to life, pencil to ink. So it was pretty neat. But I really like doing cover work. So I think if I ever had to choose like what I wanted to do, I think I would do covers for the most part. Yeah, give me the sign-ups to the story and some ideas, and I'll knock out some covers like that. That's fun. That's fun to me.
Well, and you're actually a rare breed too, though. You are a penciler as well as an inker. Now, a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people are one or the other, and you do that, and you also do colors as well, because some inkers don't even do color. They do black and white only.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I'm finding out why, too, because, let me see here. So I got So I'm working on right now. There's a Facebook group that I'm a part of called The Collector's Corner. So shout out to anyone who's on here from the corner. And I'm actually they're doing like this big gathering on July 14th over in Elkhart, Indiana, and I'm their guest artist. So as a special for just the corner members, I'm taking issues 1 and 2 and combining them, and I'm putting their own variant cover on it, and I'm using their logo and everything. It's going to be a limited print run. Once it's sold, it's gone. So So I started penciling this live so they were able to see it. So there's Proud on the dumpster. You know, I did this live for them. I had some suggestions. So like these newspapers are going to say something funny. There's going to be like stickers and spray paint on this of stuff that they wanted. So I did this. This is the pencil. And then I took it in, I blue lined it, and then I inked it today. And I've actually got it on my computer here already flatted, ready to go for coloring. But
nice.
I like inking my own stuff because there's some shorthand stuff that I can do. Like I don't need to be super tight with the pencils because I know I'm like, okay, I know that in the end I want it to look this way. So I don't have to add that stuff into the pencil. I can here's another example. This is a really good example. So this was a commission piece of Venom, Carnage, and Spider-Man turning into the Black Spider-Man. So like, you know, these rocks, they're just scribbles. But when you go into the ink part of it, and these are two pieces that I don't want people to think that I inked the back of an original pencil, but you know, there's, you know, these lines and, you know, some hatching here. I really went the depth with his symbiote on Carnage. And that's just stuff that's, you know, it's not added. So yeah, it's fun inking your own stuff because it can be quicker. I get on YouTube a lot and watch Jim Lee draw, and that man doesn't pencil hardly anything. He will do like the gesture drawing and like the outline of the figure, and then he jumps right into inks, and it's beautiful when he does it. But you could never color his stuff just because of all the techniques that he uses and the material. Like if I went to put my markers on there, it would smudge. So, you know, but you scan it in and you have a good colorist, they're able to work with that. So that's one thing that I'm actually going to be looking for first as a colorist. My colors aren't the best, but they're not too bad. They help sell the story, which is all that matters. But I definitely think a colorist would really benefit the most with my stories. So yeah, shout out to all the colorists out there, man. That's one part of the job that when I have to get there, it's a lot of work. I got to get handed to you. They can hide things that you just don't want seen. Big things too. It's amazing. Along with inkers, like you know, some people are like, all inking is tracing. No. If I have an eyeball that's wonky and just looks off, the inker is going to see that. They're going to fix it, and they're going to make my drawing look 10 times better because of all their little techniques that they do. So, you know, it's a big team. It's like an assembly line of creativeness, and it's amazing. And yeah, that's the biggest thing I've learned in this, you know, journey by myself is you learn to appreciate everyone's steps along the way. So when they say, you know, this is my page rate, don't hesitate, especially if their work backs it up. It's totally worth it. So, yeah. Take it from me, everybody. It is a lot of work by yourself. Yeah, teamwork is amazing.
I was going to say, man, I mean, I've seen you do some of your work out there, you know, and you keep going and going and going with it, you know, and that takes a lot of time.
Yeah, it does. But, you know, it all comes down to, you know, I've been in crap jobs where I've dreaded going in every day, and I come home madder than I went in. And, you know, so being able to have the opportunity to do what I love, I don't take it for granted. I've had some of the worst things. I mean, I don't know if anyone knows what technical writing is, but it is hell. And someone who didn't go to school for it, to be dumped in that position, it made it that much worse. And being the only person in that position, talking to engineers and talking to sales and talking to the legal part of it was the biggest part, because I had to tell people in the manuals that oil, you know, the oil in the chicken fryer is hot. To me, that's common sense, but you have to put it because some 16-year-old's going to put his hand in it due to the hot oil challenge. You know, YouTube comes up with all these challenges. Don't do a hot oil challenge, people. Don't do it. Um, they're just so, there's no common sense anymore. So that was what drove me nuts. I'm like, why do I have to tell people to unplug the unit before you open? Like, yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, and dealing with engineers, I don't know if anyone's ever dealt with engineers, but they don't think like normal people. So yeah, I appreciate my job. I can, yeah, that's why I'm able to keep going, man.
I was gonna say I'm an engineer, so I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. What kind of engineer?
Security and information security.
You're like the software type, right?
I do hardware, software, servers, networks, you name it. It's all information security.
Appreciate that. It's the mechanical ones that I always had beef with, because when they would design a product, they would turn parts off on the product. And then when we would try to put these parts on, their computer said it would, but in the reality, like, they had the parts turned off and it was right in the way. And I'm like, yeah, don't do that, because it's not going to work. You know, this blower's in the way when this valve is supposed to be there. Keep everything on. You know, they were always, well, the computer says it should work. Well, reality, it doesn't, because my hand doesn't bend that way. So yeah, mechanical was my nemesis. Probably just ticked off a lot of people too.
That's all right. I don't care. I'm not monetizing these videos. But yeah, like I do my stuff. I do all the security for Bank of America. So that's one of my jobs that I'm doing is kind of like figure out like how things work and how to secure them and how to make sure that when you say you do it, I'm the guy that comes back as the auditor and says, prove it to me. Show me that it works. You know, show me that everything you said that you were going to do, you actually do. You know, and by the way, show me what you did for the last 2 years to prove that there's been no issues since then.
That's awesome. That's not stressful at all either.
Oh God, no.
Anytime that the security is involved with anything, no stress. I can't imagine, man. But yeah, there's been some doozies. I've had a lot of stories where at the time I'm like, what are you guys thinking? You know? But yeah, so being on that end of things and then really wanting to do creative work, you know, my degree is in marketing and advertising and graphic design, you know, and I was in the marketing department and they didn't even want a graphic designer on staff. And that, I'm like, why? Why are we having people, you know, outside sources do what I can do in-house? I can walk right over to the sales product manager and say, what kind of ad do you guys want? I can actually have a meeting right there, impromptu. And they just, I don't think they saw the benefit. And when I quit, come to find out, they didn't really believe me that I was going to do it. And now, you know, I'm on my third project for Upper Deck and Marvel project, little sketch cards and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, 2 years, not even 2 years out. You know, it makes me feel like I'm on the right path and doing the right things. So, yeah, it was a risk. You know, 2 kids, a wife, and a house, and you know, life in general. To quit a steady job to draw for people. I mean, that doesn't sound normal. You know, I got a lot of thoughts when I told people this, like. But you know, a lot of people. The best thing was I was at Free Comic Book Day where Josh Pence, you know, picked up those items, and that later that evening, I happened to look, and one of the product managers happened to be standing there in line with his son. And I looked over, and he's like, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I'm working. What's up? Like, this is my stuff." Feet stuff full, and like, to me it was like one of the proudest moments. I'm like, you know, this was one of the biggest naysayers and he happened to be here to see what I do. So, you know, it just proves, you know, hard work really pays off, and that's what you have to do. It has to be hard work. You know, I don't stop. Like where I'm at right now, it's quarter till midnight, and I'm going strong. I think, you know, once I'm off here, I'm gonna try to wrap up flatting this cover, and then I might call it a night. But yeah, it's nonstop. You have to put in the hours.
Well, we definitely appreciate you being here tonight. Because I mean,
I appreciate it.
So Brian or BJ, I always call you Brian. I don't know why, but BJ, did you have any questions for Adam for tonight?
Are you trying to get into one of the big companies, trying to work just for storylines, or you want something just go independent wise?
That's an awesome question. So right now with Prowl, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pitch it to Image and Alterna. Those are the two comic book companies that I would love to see. Alterna basically just because of the price point for the comics. It's a good price. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Alterna, but you know it's newsprint papers. It's the classic style. And it's a price point where like everyone has $1.50. You know, they're like, this looks cool. $1.50, why not? But Image has the name, Todd McFarlane is probably one of my all-time favorite artists. I've always wanted to work with Spawn and do something with Spawn. I just love that story. Todd is just amazing. He basically paved his own way. So Image with that, I'd really like to see an Image logo on Prowl. But right now I'm focusing on that. As for wanting to work for one of the major three, if the opportunity presents itself, I would jump all over it. But I'm not submitting to Marvel or DC or any of the other ones for like, hey, pick me up as one of your sequential artists or cover art. I happen to be found for these Upper Deck cards. I still don't know who it was or when or what show they found me at. But there are scouts out there. So if the opportunity presents itself, I'll take it. But I'm not actively pursuing it because I'd like to ultimately see my character sort of become one of the biggest ones, like almost like a Walking Dead style, where it was essentially a no name, well, Robert Kirkman had a name, but like a no title, and then it was just found because that's what they were looking for. So that's kind of the path that I'm hoping to take with that. Because I've put a lot of heart and energy into my own title, But if they offered me a Venom title, I would jump all over it. That's the title that I'd love. Or Batman, Batman title, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to beat out Ryan Stegman for Venom.
Oh no, right? And the new Venom that came out, I love it. Donnie killing that, so I'm excited already for the second one.
Yeah, I'm a huge Venom fan. When I heard Donnie Cates was taking that over, I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be amazing. And I like Cullen Bunn too because he was doing amazing work. But I was just like, dude, Donnie Cates is taking over. Donnie got big last year, especially after Redneck, showed up. They showed up in Image and it went like through the roof. And the funny part is nobody reads Redneck anymore either. It was a real hype train real fast. Like I still read Redneck, and I'm just like, good grief. Now he was doing Thanos, he was doing Ghost Rider, he was doing Doctor Strange, and now he's getting real busy in Marvel. So I can see Redneck probably getting canceled down the road.
Bam.
Yeah.
But Adam, thank you so much, man, for coming on. I really appreciate it. I know all our viewers that's out there are 6 people that are still here with us. I appreciate you guys coming out with us.
Did you have another question, BJ?
I was seeing if you're going to be in the Cincinnati Comic Expo in September.
Dude, I'll be there. I've already got my table reserved.
Cool. I'll be driving up there from South Carolina. I'm going to hang out with Kyle, the other moderator stuff.
Yeah, I know he wasn't on here. Is he from the Cincinnati area?
Yeah, he lives there.
Cool. Yeah, so that is actually what in September. That's the only thing. It's September 14th, 15th, and 16th. And I booked it after last year. I did a panel last year with a bunch of other creators where we sort of talked about like the goods and bads, the pros and cons of self-publishing and being a creator, an indie creator, and that was really fun. I'm hoping we get to do another panel like that again there It's such a huge show. And if anyone who's on here has never been to the Cincinnati Comic Expo, one, if you're a Star Wars fan, they just announced that Peter Mayhew is going to be there, the original Chewbacca. So that's going to be awesome. And they always announce more and more guests the closer you get. So, yeah, they have a whole section that's nothing but Star Wars. So it's really neat. That was actually one of the first Comic-Cons that I actually went to was Cincy. Gym City was my very first one, and then that year I went to Cincinnati.
Cool.
Yeah. But yeah, everyone can find my schedule at midnight27studios.com. That's my website for my company, and yeah, I'm always adding new ones. Like I just added Coil Con. It's a GI Joe based GI Joe con. I always say Comic Con, but it's a toy con. It's actually placed as the Ohio Toy Show. But yeah, those are two amazing collectible shows that I'll be at.
Oh yeah, man.
I miss Joe Con and Toy Bot Con, freaking Hasbro.
Yeah, yeah. I guess it's big too because the Coil Con they release like custom figures, like they're actually getting manufactured exclusives just for the show. I was there last year, I believe, and it was a fun time. I realize I need a lot more GI Joe stuff in my print section, but, an original art. But yeah, it's always fun. So if you're GI Joe fans out there, hit up Coil Con, Fairborn, Ohio. It's always a good time.
Heck yeah, man.
I'd love to get some Larry Hama work done. That's for sure.
Yeah.
From the 80s.
Yeah.
Some original stuff, that would have been nice to get.
Like the package designs and stuff, man. I love all that. Because, well, my son, so, he's 5 and he just graduated preschool today. And my comic book shop for doing so good in preschool and excelling and everything that he did. They actually gave him a toy from it was 1997. It was a Spider-Man figure and it came with like a Jeep. They just gave it to him and he's been playing with it. I'm like, should have kept that in the box, but I'm like, he wanted to play with it and it was sun faded and everything, so the box was beat up. So we broke it out and he's been loving it. But yeah, he's a 90s kid at heart. Like he's got all these figures and stuff that I used to play with, and it just takes me back. I'm like, man, this is like looking into the. So yeah, he's not hard to read or anything. I just know, like, would I like this? Yeah, okay, he'll like it.
Yeah.
He's a carbon copy.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, get him a bunch of Toy Biz X-Men and call it a day.
That's what it was from, Toy Biz. Yep.
Yep.
That was it. I just saw KB Toys might be making a comeback, so all right. They were waiting for this day for Toys R Us to go under. They were in the bushes waiting.
Well, the way they're going to do it, they're going to do these pop-up stores like Go Calendar does, see where they do good at other places, and then if they do good, then they'll stay permanently. So,
yeah.
And I actually loved KB Toys. They were cheaper than Toys R Us, but the catch was that their inventory sucked. They would never have nothing I wanted when I went there. It was always at Toys R Us.
Yep. And I remember getting all my Resident Evil and Metal Gear Solid figures at KB Toys. That was what I wanted there, and they were the only place that actually had them locally here. And yeah, I wish I still had them. Oh man, I
was buying Beast Wars, Transformers, and Toy Biz Marvel Legends back then when they were still open.
Man, I had the DVDs for all the Beast Wars, and my oldest, he watched them all religiously when he was like 5 and 6, and yeah, that took me back. I'm like, but you look at the graphics, you're like, this was cool back then, but we're so used to these graphics. Mm-hmm. We're like, why was I proud of this? But that and BattleTech was one of my favorites with the battling robots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, I can reminisce about the '90s all day.
Well, people forget, that back then Reboot had just started, Beast Wars that came out. That was the CGI of the 90s,
Well,
and it looked amazing.
it
But you know
did.
what I did, I was a G1 guy from Transformers.
Mhm.
So I loved, actual written, drawn, actual art done in, into the cartoon. So when I saw the CGI, I'm like, well, this isn't the same, so it had to grow on me a little bit, but I was like, okay, for that time period, it was amazing work. Today, that is nothing. I mean, a 5-year-old goes do that now.
It's insane, but to see how far we come. Like I look at Resident Evil 3 for the regular PlayStation 1, and that was amazing graphics back then. Like it was cutting edge. And then you look at today's like Resident Evil 7 and Call of Duty and all this. I'm like, wow, it is so advanced. And when I was in college, I actually had thought about going in for like 3D animation and game design and stuff like that. Because, like I said earlier, I love concept art. But then I quickly realized I don't like doing 3D. It was too tedious for me, and I do not want to wait 3 hours to render 30 seconds of film in the movie. I'm like, this takes too long. I like to see immediate payoff right here. That's why I like, once I'm done with the drawing, like I can look and be like, it's done. I don't have to wait for it to render to realize like that eye didn't come out the way it should have, and then have to do it all over again. To me, it was just, that's not my knack. So now my oldest, he wants to go in for like programming and to do video game stuff and wants to be a developer. And so, he's actually taking robotics this year. He'll be 11 in July. So it's amazing with the stuff that they're offering now. So yeah, we'll see how well that goes over this year.
That's kind of a cool concept. 'Cause I'm a STEM teacher, as well. So from the engineering and mathematics side, man, what kids do today versus what we did when we were kids is two different things.
Yeah. Well, my youngest going into kindergarten, he's going to have a technology class. He's going to learn how to use a keyboard and a computer because all the state testing is on a computer. So like, but we didn't learn that stuff till I was like in 6th and 7th grade. I'm like, it's so different. And, I sound so old saying that, but I never realized how fast things advance. And my wife, she's a librarian in the school. So she has to keep up to date on, the current technologies and stuff to, what's new with the books and cataloging and all this. And it blows my mind. So she gets the first, news on this is how they're going to be testing this year. This is what they're going to be focusing on. And she has to have material for it. And so it just blows my mind when she telling me like what all their standards are for kindergarten. I'm like, thank God he's smart because I would be so worried. And I'm glad I don't have to know this stuff, starting out school. But but this is the era they're raised and bred in. So they'll adapt just like we did. Our parents couldn't believe like they grew up with Pong and Atari and then Mario. To see PlayStation 1 graphics I know my dad was like, this is crazy. Metal Gear Solid when you had to change the port fighting Psycho Mantis. I mean, he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I got to fight this boss. And you have to change this. He goes, that's too advanced. At the time, it was just something unheard of. But that's what we did. Now, I can't even play video games anymore. Roll everything. Can't. Camera. I'm good. I don't have time to play video games, I should say. No desire to either, but occasionally sit and watch the little ones, play, and it blows my mind how they're able to navigate these open worlds and sparks my creative juices. But like, wow, it's just stunning. And again, I go back to the concept art and I see it and it blows my mind because it's all digitally painted, where the stuff I grew up with was actually traditionally painted. And I think that's why I respect it a lot more, because I'm a traditional guy. I don't mind doing stuff on the computer, but my pencil and paper have never just disappeared, and I had to reopen it. Where programs crash daily, and it just frustrates me. So, yeah, there's pros and cons to everything, but yeah.
Well, we did have a question for you from Keyshawn Marshall. Do you use only blank variant covers, or do you use sheets as well, like the long sheets?
Yeah, so I have a lot of blank covers in stock, but I also offer sketch cards, which are like this size. I have them at the ready. Like I said, I practice on them. But I offer 9x12 and 11x17, and also 5x7. But that's people very rarely buy the 5x7s. They want the bigger stuff. They want the 9x12s or the 11x17s. I've actually had to do some 18x24 pieces. You're talking poster size. So yeah, commission range, and actually they're all on my website too. All my sizes and prices. But majority of what I do are on blank covers. People just love because they get the book and they also get original artwork on it, and to them it's a little more for what they are. But I've like this. I showed it earlier. This was actually a commission, 11x17. He wanted it, on comic book paper. So yeah, that was a commission. I had a whole bunch of other ones that are buried. See what I have up here. Oh yeah. So this one I posted the other day was a battle damaged Iron Man. So I'm trying to keep the glare off of it. That one was a lot of fun, but they like the blank covers, and so I keep them in stock as much as I can. And if I don't have a title, what I do is I get on the collector corner group, or I'll just do a blanket post, and somebody somewhere will have one, and we'll trade, or I'll purchase it, and yeah, I get it for the customer. So, but I have a pretty good collection down here, so chances are I'll have what you want, unless it's Venom. Nobody ever has Venom, and if they do not sell it.
Yep. So
Venom is the hardest blank cover to find, and I've only found a couple in the wild.
Yeah, I've got about 5 of them, and they're all staying in the box.
Yep.
They're hard to find. I mean, literally, like I got the one for the Donnie Cates one that just came out, and there's the only one the store got.
Yeah, none of my shops ever even got one of those. I didn't know that existed until I started seeing them floating around. I'm like, why did they get me one of those? But I guess it's like they had to order X amount to get it. So, and they're all shops, so they're not gonna order 30 or 40 of these, or whatever the threshold is to get this. So, but yeah, it's hard finding them. Everyone wants Venom. I can't blame them. Awesome.
Well, as soon as they heard Donnie Cates and Ryan Stegman was going to do it and take over, from them, everybody wanted to jump on it, and so I knew it was going to be a big issue. Like, I read my version of Venom in the sketch cover. I didn't even want to open the actual regular book cover because it has jumped in price so much lately now, just because it's Donnie Cates and Stegman are doing it. I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty good run. I'm excited for it, and it's actually the very first Marvel book that I've had in a pull list since I've opened a pull list. So I'm very picky. We actually talked earlier. You said Kyle's more of a trade paperback guy, and you guys are single issues. I'm sort of a mix. Walking Dead, I wait until the hardback book comes out before I purchase them, so I can just sit and sort of binge read. If it's a special series like Venom or Metal, I will get 2. I'll get the second printing, and then for me to read, but I'll also get the metallic foil cover for the collection, where I don't open it. It's actually stored away, and that's it. But for others, what I'll do is I'll collect them. I'll take them in, because half the time I don't have a chance to read them. And if they come out with a trade, I'll just trade in my single issues that I'm not going to have graded or do anything with, and I'll get a deal on the trade paperback. It's just a deal that me and a couple shops have worked out. So they get some back issues because they know I take good care of them. They're not, don't dog ear anything. Everything's bag and boarded, and I take good care of it. And, so when they get it, they know they'll be able to sell it for top dollar. And yeah, they don't mind doing that because I like to sit and read from cover to cover a full story. Chances are that's like the only time that I won't have time. Like the Batman Ninja Turtle run, I have all 6 issues, but I haven't had a chance to sit down and actually read it. I've read the first run, but I haven't read the second one yet. And I have them all. I just need to sit down and do it. And I'll probably wait till the trade comes out to do that. Yeah. Like the Power Ranger run too. I need to read Shattered Grid. And I think I've read up to like 20, 22. And I haven't had a chance to read from like 23 on. So I'm not too far behind, but you know, it all comes down to time. You know, you got to make time to do this. And I want to keep up. So when I'm at a show and talking to other fans, you know, we can actually engage in a conversation and everything. And it won't get spoiled. You know, I take spoilers pretty serious. Like, don't tell me what happens in the movie. Just like, don't tell me what happens in the comic books. Like, I want to find that out and go through the journey that the creators intended you to. So, you know, draw those conclusions as I go, and then sort of find out the resolutions. But yeah, those are the books right now that I've sort of got, but I haven't had a chance to read yet.
Yeah, out of every book, I mean, I bought a stack of books about this big last week, and that was the only one. I was like, I got to read Venom. And everything I had, that was the top priority, was to read that one, and then I read Infinity Countdown. Yeah, and I was like, and so, but Shattered Grid's been really good on it. I had to catch up too, though. I had to go get all the trade paperbacks from 1 through 20. I think, and then I ended up picking up individual issues 21 to current. But it was the same way with Go-Go Power Rangers. I didn't know, like, you had to read Go-Go to go with it as well.
Yeah,
and that's part of the stories.
Yeah, and it's really cool storyline. Now, there's another book that I've been reading. My friends at Abrupt Design, they turned me on to it only because, one, it was Robert Kirkman. It's Oblivion Song. They read the back of the first issue and the letter that Robert Kirkman wrote about how he found his artist. You know, they sort of said that it reminded them of me because, you know, I go live and I talk to, you know, so many people, and they said you never know who's actually watching your work, you know, because Robert said that he had this entire story mapped out and scripted and ready to go. All he was waiting on was this artist Lorenzo, and the minute that Lorenzo opened up, he jumped all over it, and now they have 13 books ready to go. I believe that's what it said in the back of the book, was they're ready to publish all 13 monthly, so that you're going to get this story. But you know, I picked it up. I'm like, you know, I'm going to check this book out, and I fell in love with it. Oblivion Song is amazing. It's unique and it's just different. It goes back to, you know, I used to have, you know, your standard Batman, Green Lantern, and a few others in my pull list, but the Flash, you know, some of the stories have gotten kind of boring, almost predictable, you know. So when Venom came out, it's new, it was exciting. You know, Metal came out, it was different, so those excited me. But it's more of these indie style, completely, like, it's not your superheroes, it's not your Batmans and Supermans, it's something completely different. And I think I'm starting to lean more towards those type of stories where it's, you know, it's not like a hero based story that's been recycled over and over. It's completely new, and I think that's why I'm reading those, so I can sort of know what they're doing for Prowl. And that's I've actually really enjoyed those type of books now. You know, I just grabbed issue 3 of Stabity Bunny. I'm trying to find issues 1 and 2.
Who knows about this?
It's fun to say, Stabbity Bunny. I'm like, I gotta check this out. I've seen so many people posting about it, and now I can issue 1 and 2. So yeah, and then Sync is another one. They're coming out with a trade, and I'm actually gonna pick up the trade to read it instead of trying to find all the issues. But Sync's another one, and I thumbed through some of the artwork. I'm like, it's bloody and messy, and it looks really cool. So I'm gonna check it out. It's again, but it's not a mainstream title. It's something off. You know, it's different. That's what I like.
That's kind of why I was happy. Like Cyberforce just came out again from Image, you know, that one, and you know, BJ's friend Chad, who does Youngblood. Like I didn't even know Youngblood had came back out again, you know, and I was like, dude, I'm like back in the '90s all over again when Jim Lee then started it all at Image in '93. And as soon as I did that, I went and read that whole Youngblood setting in one day, and I'm like, nope, reading all 5 issues real fast. Because that brings you back to like those type of stories, you know, that are different. They're not just your cookie cutter, you know. And I like that. I love that kind of story. I think it's Aphrodite IX is about to come out with another book, and they haven't had a book in almost 20 years. And I was like, huh, I'm gonna have to go grab that one when it comes out.
Yeah,
Because I like those different type of stories. Fathom, you know, those ones that Silvestri and Michael Turner used to do, you know, from Top Cow. Those are great reads and great stories. They're different, you know, but the catch is that they still have a superhero feel to them. But but it's not enough. You know, it's not the boys in blue, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah. It's, and you know, I like the phrase cookie cutter, because that's what I feel that, you know, like Marvel, all they do is they just recycle their characters, and it's, you know, it's a different storyline and they have different spins on it, but again, it's a good guy versus bad guy type thing, and I really enjoy like the completely off the wall different stuff, and you know, that's not, it's brand new. Like I feel like the comic world in the movie industry as well, you know, Marvel has owned the whole movie industry with the superhero genre. You know, DC really can't catch up because they mapped it out. So, you know, if you're trying to create a superhero movie right now, you're going to fall short because Marvel's already got that. You need something completely new that's going to get, you know, once Marvel's done and they're cashing all their checks, you want the next newest thing, and it can't be a superhero because that's already been done and you can't do it better than what they already have. So same goes for comics. You know, Marvel and DC, they have their top characters that they're always going to have regardless. And you're going to read those stories if you're one of their fans, but if you're like us and, you know, people trying to get in and they want new, something fresh and different, you know, that's where, you know, hopefully people find Prowl. They're like, what's this? And they'll see it and they're like, oh, this is a unique story. It's something completely different. Stabbity Bunny, like I've never heard of something like this. I thumbed through it. I'm like, this is freaking crazy, and I love it. And you know, it's stuff like that that it keeps this industry fresh. It's not just, you know, recycling characters over and over. It's new things coming in, and this is where like the indie world I feel is, you know, really thriving. So, yeah, excited to be a part of the indie world.
They've had so many great stories lately. I mean, I couldn't even get Oblivion Song #1. It was sold out. Like the day of it, it showed up. It was already gone by the time I went there that afternoon. You know, so I was like, I was blown away. I mean, I'd read the preview from it, you know, from previews, and I was like, dude, I got to get that book. You know, and 50 copies, all 50 copies sold before I even got to the store. And that's, you know, they opened at 12 and I got there at 3:30. So that tells you how good that one was.
Oh yeah. Yeah, when I hear like rumblings of something unique like that, like I quickly add it to my list because I want in on it. I want to sort of see what, like I wish I was in it when Walking Dead first came out, because when Walking Dead one came out, you know, whoever has the first prints, they're sitting on gold. Like, so you never know what's going to be the next big thing. So when it's something, you know, an issue of Batman, issue of Spider-Man, stuff like that, they're not going to be probably as popular as or as I'm trying to think of the word, but worth as much as say like something that blew up like Walking Dead did. Like people were going to look for that grail versus like, oh, cool, I got another Batman #1. Well, there's like 50 different Batman #1s in the last year. So, it's which title, but there's only one issue 1 of Walking Dead. So that's the kind of stuff. So when it's something completely different than like this, I'm gonna jump on it because you just never know. I can see Oblivion Song being a TV series one day, just by the way that they set the panels and the storytelling aspect of it. I'm like, this is made for cinema, and I think they do that on purpose. Because when I'm creating my books, like I think of camera angles, I think of you almost have to for comics. You have to think as a movie director or a film director, and my pages I try to set up almost like they would be in a movie. So if like it's a flashback or something, like it's going to be portrayed that way, low angle shots and stuff like that. So because you never know, it could get picked up and become something, and I want most of the groundwork to be laid. And I want one of the coolest things for me is when I see one of my favorite panels in a live action movie, because they use the source material and they stayed true to it. That to me, like that's the coolest payoff. Like that scene was out of this book, and that's just amazing. So those type of things. That's kind of what I think about as I'm creating, these stories and stuff. A few pages in these books that I'd love to see on screen one day.
Yeah. Well, it's like me. I have 3 copies of #1.
Nice.
Yeah. But I bought it when it wasn't a big thing.
Yeah.
I bought it, and he was just trying to sell it at the con. Because he was nobody. He'd only did Marvel Zombies at that point. Yeah. So when he did Walking Dead, I'm like, all right, this looks like a good story. So I picked up, I think it was issues 1 through 10. And a couple extra copies, and they were $2 each, at the con. And I thought it was a cool story, and then they started doing those trade paperbacks, that came out after like 10 or so issues. Because I was big on the, at the time, it was right before, what was it, Blackest Night, Brightest Day. It just came out from DC. I was reading all that because I loved that storyline. So I wasn't picking up a whole lot of indie, but I kept picking up Walking Dead. And then it kicked off on the show. And then I was like, I should probably get these graded, So I sent 2 of them off graded, came back as 9.6 and a 9.8. And so, yeah, that is like my emergency fund now. If something happens, hey, I can sell those and make a buck ton if I have to. Yeah. But it's one of those things too. I'll never get it back again. You're not going to get these kind of things back. It's just like, I have some old Golden Age stuff. I have some of the All-American comics, that Green Lantern was in, the Alan Scott log. You ain't going to just go find those books, Those are the kind of things that comics have turned into. And that's what we hope for. We hope that for artists and writers, they get to that point. Like, you've got that gold mine book, that was your kickoff issue. They got you to that point. It started everything. And, you can always reflect back to it. Because, I'd love to see you in like DC, Marvel, and Image. I'd like to see your name on the cover, one day on there, just because I have a personal interest, in that. Because I do that for all artists and writers, as hey, I'd love to see everybody make it to the big ones. Someone, you can make a lot more money. 2, that you can get the support you need through it. That way you get your team of people that can help you do your story, But at the other time, I don't want to see you go there either, because then that means you might have to change how you do business. You might have to change a lot of attributes that you're doing today. So that's kind of why there's been a lot of writers and artists who go backwards. They're not doing what they did with the big 3 anymore. They're just taking and doing onesie twosies. Yep. So I want to see you make a lot of money, but I also want you to be able to do what you want to do. If that makes sense.
That goes back to the question earlier was, do you want to work with one of the bigger companies, or do you want to keep doing your own thing? I'm going to keep doing my own thing. That way I'm still my own boss. If say Image picks this up, one, I think that's going to go ahead and start generating the funds to help hire somebody, because I would bring somebody on. That way I can meet their deadlines. The only thing that would change would be, I would have them looking it over and maybe an editor or two that says, hey, you might want to relook at this. And I would love those extra set of eyes. But if I end up getting picked up by, Marvel or DC, then like you said, I'm going to be under their watchful eye, and I have to do, and it's not like, what people don't realize is, if you work for one of those companies, you're not just under their watchful eye for that title. They can come to a con and look at your table and say, all right, well, we need a cut of this, we need a cut of this, because this is our guy, this is our, they will start nickel and diming you because they want their share of their IP. And it's, that's kind of scary for, a guy like me, who I just, making my living doing my own title, because I am working on another story, a side story that's completely separate of Prowl. It's something completely different. I'll hopefully have more info with that later on, like possibly end of this year. But it's, to me, that kind of sucks if they come in and they start saying, well, they're passing wall after wall of fan art, that people are selling, and going right to you saying, all right, well, we see this, we'll need a percentage of this because you sold this and that's ours. So yeah, it's not just, the title that you're on, it's everything of theirs. So once they give you that license, I mean, that's their license to say, we're going to monitor everything that you sell now. And as a creator, I mean, that's almost defeating. I think that's why a lot of them get so angry and, sort of bitter at the industry, because you do have these greedy, blood-sucking lawyers that will come in and want their share of the pie. And I get it, it's business, but man, that's why I sort of hesitate. Like I said, if the opportunity arises, I probably would jump on it. But as of right now, my goal is just to get my own title published through somebody else. So I'm not absorbing this print cost, and I just have to sit back and produce content, and all they have to do is distribute it. So that's my ultimate goal right now.
Definitely. Yeah, because I mean, you get to do what you want to do. That's the most important thing, and that's all anybody could ask for. We did have one last question for you tonight.
Okay.
If you could change any major event in comics, what would it be and why?
Ooh, man, if I had to change one major event in comics, coming from a guy who has very, very little history of reading comics, I honestly don't know. The short stories that I've read, I mean, I'm trying to think back. I really like, New 52 was where I sort of jumped in on everything, and the Court of Owls and all that. I can't think of a single storyline that I would change, just because the ones I've read have been the most popular ones that sort of paved the way for everybody. I really want, after Infinity War, I really wanted to get into the Infinity War story, because there was a lot of stuff that going into as a fan of the movies, I don't know much of the history. I don't know what characters were replaced. Like, I know the scene Banner crashes through, like that was Silver Surfer. I didn't know that. Not growing up in comics, yeah, that's just stuff that I overlooked. I go into it face value as a great movie. So in comics, I can't say I'd change anything. Now in movies, storylines and stuff like that, there's a few things that I would change. It would all be in the DC universe. I'm start with Batman versus Superman. I would change that, wholeheartedly. Wonder Woman, I think, was amazing. I think that was by far my favorite DC movie so far, was Wonder Woman. But Batman and Superman, I would change up a lot of stuff with that. The whole, they become friends because their mom has the same name. Like, come on, I have a lot of friends whose name's Tina, who their mom's name's Tina. I still don't like them. You know, we're not going to become
Yeah.
BFFs because of that. It's just weird. So, you know, there's little things like that that I would change. It's not an overall story arc that I would change, but there's definitely a few little things in cinema that I would change. But I know that doesn't answer the question. But like I said, I didn't grow up reading comics like everybody else. My journey into this industry has been very non-traditional, and I'm actually just lucky to be able to do this with really no history in it. And right now, I'm kind of working backwards. I'm learning. Like, I just read Lethal Protector. Shows you how far back, like, I'm not, because with Venom coming out this year, I wanted to sort of a history on, like, where do these other symbiotes come from? Why is Venom a good guy now? And so, you know, I read Lethal Protector, and I'm like, this is killer. You know, this is something that, you know, back then, if I had the access to the books, I would have loved it. So, you know, I'm catching up on these key titles and key stories right now. So ask me again in about a year. I'm sure I'll find something in my little history of reading, something that I don't care for. But right now, every title I've read, I've enjoyed. So, you know.
All right, so I got 4 books for you to read for Venom then. You got to read Feudal Pyre. It's a mini series. The Malice, Maximum Carnage, and then you got to read the last Venom run that was done right before this Venom that came out. So it's it was the one before Donny Cates took over. It's just the recent ones that just came out. It's where Eddie Brock came back as the Venom.
Yep. Yeah, I've seen that one. And I think that my comic book shop has all those in the dollar spot right now, a few of them. So I have Maximum Carnage. I still need to read that one. And like I said, that's my son's favorite villain is Carnage. And I don't know if it's concerning or not, but he asked Santa for Carnage for Christmas last year. He got it. He got it. It's just a little 5-year-old goes, I want Carnage for Christmas, and Santa kind of looked up, and I'm like, don't worry about it. He's not demented or anything. Just
Carnage.
Yeah. So, like, if anyone ever gets on my live feeds that I do, over on Facebook, they'll hear him talking throughout some of the stuff. Sometimes I'll call him over just to get his opinion on something, and it's entertaining, to say the least. I'm thinking about just doing a whole show with nothing but him because he's more entertaining than watching me draw. But yeah. So I'll definitely pick those books up and check those out because I've got a lot of history I got to catch up on. Anytime I walk into a comic shop and start talking to the owners, I learn so much. Like, I'll just sit and just absorb what knowledge they have while they're talking to their other customers and hearing the back and forth. And it's amazing to hear the history of, like, in Golden Age, that was like war era. So they were basically used as propaganda. I'm like, that's fascinating. That's just stuff I never realized growing up. So the whole history aspect of things, it's an awesome little piece of history. So
all right, BJ, do you have anything else for Adam for tonight?
Carnage USA. You need to get that one too. Clayton Crane artwork.
Carnage USA. Okay.
It's good. And then you were talking about other companies and finding those pretty cool ones. I got this off for pre-comic book day. It's the mall. I really enjoyed this one. I read this.
I saw that one there.
Based. Yeah, it's 80s based. And I like the storyline. I can't wait for it to come out as a real ongoing series. I think it's June or July. It's from Scout Comics too.
Okay, Scout Comics.
Scout Comics. Never heard of it. So.
Yeah. Sometimes those are under. Like, I never heard of Alterna until Jim and Dan started picking their books up to sell, and I realized that he has a pretty big span. Peter Samedi, I think, is the owner of that, and he's everywhere because he doesn't just target comic book shops. Like he'll target like a Walmart, like right there in the checkout lane. You know where comics used to be when they weren't collectible, like they were just little magazines for kids to read. You know, it's fascinating. He's trying to get back to that, and that's something that I could truly see me leaning towards, trying to get the younger generation. Yeah, that's very sweet. Let's check those out, though.
All right.
And hey, BJ, is that the Carnage one with the Century in it at the end?
It has Iron Man and Spider-Man in it. And they have like it's been a while since I read it, but they a couple other symbiotes, but they're kind of like a team, kind of fighting Carnage in a small hometown. I can't remember if Sentry's in it or not, but it was pretty good.
Yeah.
The reason I asked, I remember there's some issue where the Century rips Carnage in half and throws him in the sun. That's the only thing I remember that happening somewhere.
I think it's that one.
Okay, I'll find the issue. I'll find you the saga and send it to you, Adam, BJ.
Hell, yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I really enjoy that psychopath. It's so much fun, and I really hope he's in the movie. You know, I know it's been rumored here and there that Woody Harrelson will be playing Cletus Cassidy, but I'd really like to see him in the movie at some point. I don't even care if it's a post-credit scene. I just want to see Carnage.
I feel like Carnage, you need to read Venomized then.
Yeah, there's a trade paperback that my son looks at every time we go into the shop, and I might just break down and use my in-store credit to get it, just because pretty sweet looking.
Yeah, between that and the new ASM, the ASM that Dan Slott's been writing lately, Carnage Goblin. It's crazy.
Those are two characters that I would never have matched together, and I'm glad they did. It's beautiful. That's a commission that I'm waiting just to come in. If it doesn't come in soon, I'm going to just do one for fun, because that's a great character. Yeah.
Well, Adam, dude, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming by tonight.
My pleasure. Anytime.
If you ever want to come back by, just let me know. We'll definitely have you again. Especially like when you get closer, like Prowl number 5 and everything coming out. Let us know. We'll have you come back on. We told Chad the same thing when Chad was getting closer to some of his stuff coming out. Let us know, because then we want this to be a broadcast for you guys. To be able to tell all the people out there things are coming out. Hey, we're your local comic shop news. Say that's what we're trying to do to help out.
Say, you guys know me in advertising, man. I will absolutely, the minute, because to me it's like it's a reward. Like, it's done. Like, okay, here, it's like me showing off. Like, it's like my refrigerator. It's like, hey, look, I did this. Check it out. And yeah, so definitely when issue 5 comes out, you'll probably be hearing from me. But I appreciate you guys having me on here. This is a lot of fun.
Hey, man.
I hope the viewers learn something if they're interested in doing this on their own. And again, if they ever need any questions, my inbox on Facebook, my website, they can get a hold of me. I'd love to answer questions and help somebody else out.
Definitely. All right. You can hang out if you want to with us. BJ, did you have a haul for this week?
Yeah, man. I got a good bit.
Okay.
Mystery and Madripoor, part of the Hunt for Wolverine. Got that Greg Land cover going. Loving it. I finally was able to get Avengers #1. Came back, we got it back in stock. So,
Wow.
yeah, man. Star Wars #48. Pretty cool. X-Men Gold #28. Got old Kitty on front. I was able to pick up the Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider #1 from Damnation.
Finally.
Clayton Crane. Yes, sir. Good old Clayton. They just came out with Star Wars Annual #4. So, looking for that. I can't believe it's already been 4 years since that's been out. And Barrier #4. Pretty good so far. I wish I knew a little bit of Spanish because half of it's in Spanish. And then one of the local collectors here, that she asked me to start reading this. No Justice 1. And then I got 2 and 3 as well. Oh, no. And #3. And Infinity Countdown, Darkhawk #1. This is my friend Chad Bowers. He's and Chris Sims are doing the co-writing, but I got the Ron Lim variant cover with Death's Head on it. Yeah, fun fact, Chad's a big Death's Head fan. And then, give me a second. I got this set.
Grimlock.
Yeah.
No.
Trypticon.
Trypticon.
What? Oh my god! Look at
I
that.
got it at Ollie's for, I had a 15% discount on Ollie's, so I got it for $44, $46.
Oh my god! I think it's massive.
Yeah, if you got Ollie's at your up there, man, you go check it out. They're on sale for $50 instead of $150.
Yep.
That's one heck of a deal.
180 freaking stickers you got to put on that thing. Oh.
No, I bought mine at retail, and I still have not put the stickers on because I refused to do it after I did it with the Fort Max 2 years ago.
Yeah. Oh.
All right. So I only got a couple things. I haven't been to my LCS yet this week, so I'll have a lot more probably next week. But you got some random ones. Is it Aliens Dust to Dust #1 from Dark Horse? I always like reading Aliens, and they don't bring us out many times. So I was like, all right, let me grab that one. I got Mighty Thor 704. This is the regular cover. I had the variant cover, but they didn't have the original when it first came out. And then I got this for $1. So I was like, okay, I'll take it for $1. The variant of Damnation. We were talking about this a couple of weeks ago, and I finally got it. It took me forever to find it. Cosmic Redneck.
Nice.
The Donny Cates homage to Cosmic Ghost Rider. And then got, let's see, the Delgado Venom 165 variant. So that's it. That's all I got this week so far.
Nice.
You pick anything about?
Oh,
Yeah.
did you get anything out of this week?
Yeah, actually, I did. Ironically, I have them sitting here because I hadn't put them away yet. But I like the Virgin covers. They're
Yeah,
just,
man.
so splash one, beautiful.
Yeah.
Worst you got Shattered Grid. Just stacking up to what I still need to read, and then this one from Batman. It's kind of a fun one too. It was in the movie theater. I never got the invite to the wedding either for Batman, so I feel left out. But then they hook me up with blanks all the time, so I got this Invincible Iron Man one.
That's 600, right?
Yeah. Yep, 600. So that was all on my list this time. I'm actually painting a sign for the comic book shop, so I mainly went in there to talk to them about paint swatches, exciting stuff. So then they happened to have all this stuff for me. I said, well, I might as well get it while I'm here.
Sweet. Well, you're always welcome to come in and show us what you got, so to speak.
Yeah.
But with that being said, it's a late night for you guys, and it's already late my time here too already. So that's why you're called Midnight Studios. It's past midnight,
Love it.
But dude, it's been an honor, Adam, being on here. BJ, thank you, brother, for being here every week.
Sure.
And like I said, I'm gonna put your link and stuff, Adam, onto the Syndi-Comics page, the Midnight Studios link. I'll put all that stuff out there, like I did for Chad. But definitely come on back and let us know whenever you want to do it. We definitely would love to have you here. So, BJ, do you have anything else for tonight?
Nope. I can't think of anything top of my head. No conventions except for Heroes Con in about 2-3 weeks. No, just support your local comic book stores.
All right. And Adam, any parting thoughts before we close out tonight?
No, support your local comic artists. No, I appreciate it, guys. This was so much fun. So hope you guys have a good night.
Yes, sir.
You too.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for all the viewers out there that's been with us tonight. Thank you for coming by and being with Adam and BJ and myself. This has been Syndi-Comics Weekly. We'll try to be back here next Thursday, so come on by and see us next week. All right. Y'all take it easy now.
Bye.
Bye.
Later.